In today's video, we're going to be checking out what we learned from Chelsea 2, Manchester City 4, a few tactical intricacies, a few different things from this game that we've seen in the other games. We're going to discuss that, and then we're going to talk about a few individual performances and a few other little tactical details as well. So the difference today, Gusto starting at left back. Instead of inverting into that midfield, the first half we played without an inverted fullback. Gusto was actually providing that width on the left-hand side. We saw that midfield three starting of Lavia at the base, Caicedo and Enzo as the 8s, but Caicedo dropping in alongside Lavia to form that pivot. KDH basically starting as that left winger, but pretty much always occupying that left half space, coming inside as that extra number 8 in possession alongside Enzo to create that box midfield. We then had Colwill, Tosin and Reece at the back and Kunku up front, and we had Mudryk playing off the right as well. This is how the setup looked from the start, as we said, with that back three and then Lavia and Caicedo in the pivot together. As you can see with the two yellow circles, you've got Mudryk and Gusto holding the width. This, of course, allowed them to play in that 3-2-5 with the two number 8s coming in as those half-space players. Of course, Dewsbury Hall playing as a number 8 coming in from the left, as we said, with Gusto then providing the width. So Dewsbury Hall in that left half space and Enzo Fernandez in that right half space. Something that the personnel in this shape really helped to do was sustain that possession high up the pitch, having Lavia and Caicedo able to pressure the ball in tandem in the middle of the pitch, the three at the back to win headers in and around the halfway line and attack the ball to keep it in the opposition half, and then the 5 players in attack occupying all the correct lanes to then sustain the ball, control the ball, of course circulate possession and then retake control. As we've seen it throughout pre-season, I've been talking about this 3-3-4 shape, where as one of the number 8s, so it being Enzo in this personnel, drops in a little bit deeper to collect the ball and form that 3 in midfield to overload, bounce the ball, and create those little 1-2 combination triangles in the middle of the park. The other number 8, which again is Dewsbury Hall in this sense, he's not actually playing as number 8, he's coming in off the left, but Gusto's holding the width. That extra attacking midfielder is joined by Nkunku, so you've got the two strikers, as you can see in the middle, Dewsbury Hall and Nkunku, and then you've got Mudryk as that right winger. Now, it's important to speak about Enzo in this role because whilst I still think that the number 6 role would be best for him in terms of the amount of touches he can get on the ball and how much he can affect the game from that area of the pitch, there are still some massive factors that mean he can be a very big threat for this Chelsea team within the role that he's playing in currently. As I keep referring to it, we create this 4-2 base when Sanchez does step up, and it leaves this yellow gap that I've highlighted here for one of the number 8s to drop into. Of course, on this side of the pitch, it would be Dewsbury Hall, but if you applied that on the same of the other side of the pitch, that would be where Enzo can drop in, create that 3 in midfield, and again, that's when we start to see that 4-3-3, which Todd Bowley actually used to speak about. But of course, if the goalie's not there, you see that 3-3-4, which I was just talking about a minute ago. From this deep receiver pocket, he can pick up the ball and use that expansive passing range that Enzo possesses. We saw this in this example here, where he dropped into that pocket created from Mudryk, providing the width, dropped in, played that ball in behind the line to Nkunku, who you can also actually see Dewsbury Hall is alongside him, forming that sort of 2 strikers. Again, they're both occupying lanes against the centre-backs of the opposition team. Nkunku runs in behind, Enzo plays that ball in behind, and that's the creative passing and sort of all aspects of Enzo's creative passing that you can get when he's in that zone, and the expansiveness he can use with that range of passing, not just his ability of pass, but also that weight of pass and the ability to go over multiple ranges and distances. Just that quick visual representation of that zone that I keep referring to when I say the deep receiver number 8 pocket, where Enzo drops in. Again, KDH can do that on the opposite side as well, but that is what I keep referring to as that number 8 pocket of space. And then, as we discussed earlier as well, it creates that 3-3-4, as I was saying, with one of the other number 8s. So in this instance, it's KDH, forming that 2 up front with Nkunku. You've got the 2 wingers providing width. And then, as I said, Enzo can drop into that little gap, that little pocket of space as the number 8 receiver. And he can use that passing range to thread that ball into Nkunku. He also has the option to switch play to Gusto to circulate play backwards towards the other pivot players, the defenders, or he could even try an incisive pass into someone like KDH. This is why the creative passing of Enzo will be useful in this area of the pitch. One other thing I wanted to speak about, and we didn't really see this in the game, but we saw 1 or 2 occasions where they created this sort of 3-4 base, which I've spoke about with a lot of other teams this pre-season, such as Man City, Manchester United and Liverpool, who have all done this at one point or another, with their goalkeeper in between the 2 split centre-backs forming that base 3, the 2 full-backs and the 2 pivot players forming that 4, a bit of a staggered line, as you can see there in the middle. The main idea of this being against a 4-4-2, you have the two forwards pressing. You can create that three at the back with the goalkeeper as the overload at the back. And then if they go man for man with your four ahead of them, so the two fullbacks and the two central midfielders, that allows you that direct route into your front four, who should be 4v4 against the opposition defence. So it gives you that route to go direct. And we've seen Maresca is not afraid to try that as well. Now for the out of possession structure, this is something I was referring to as lock and load, where Nkunku a lot of the time, especially in that first half, was locking off one side of the pitch. He was often leaving Calvin Phillips to receive the ball from the goalkeeper, trying to lock off Gvardiol's side of the pitch, force play to one side, where Gusto could then jump from left back to press that side of the pitch when it is going down that left-hand flank. As you can see from this example, when Nkunku blocks that side of the pitch and you have the man-to-man press on the two pivot players in the midfield for Manchester City, you're forcing it that side, then Dewsbury Hall is ready to jump up and press that side of the pitch, and off of screen as well to that left-hand side, you can see Gusto, who is actually ready to jump the route and attack and basically press that left fullback of City, or that makeshift left fullback of City. As I said, Chelsea did this throughout the entire game. They was trying to make Manchester City go long, and they were often leaving themselves in that sort of 3v3 long ball scenario where they're forcing it long and backing themselves to win that ball, even against the likes of Erling Haaland, win that ball and have the likes of Lavia and Caicedo retreating back into the midfield, as you can see here with Caicedo. The idea was to win that long ball, then have one of Caicedo or Lavia converge with the three defenders to then create that overload in the middle of the pitch and sort of... It's almost a counter-pressing moment, but without being a counter-press, of course. So they're trying there to win that second ball and to regain possession so you can then regain control of the game. Again, another example where Phillips gets the ball, so Nkunku is trying to block off that pass over to Gvardiol's side. He's allowing it to go back to the keeper, but not to that side. Enzo is trying to make sure that it doesn't go straight into the pocket player there. And of course, like I said, Mudryk, Gusto, they're pushed very high, and Lavia and Caicedo are off of screen. They're still covering the men behind that line, because at this point Man City have started only bringing one midfielder deeper so that they can try and create space and try and create a bit more of an overload to play that ball a bit longer and more direct through Chelsea's press. And this is another image that I think is really good to see this. You can see everywhere on the pitch. You can see the lock off on that right side of the pitch again going into Phillips. You can then see the central players all marking their man. KDH ready to make that run over to that side of the pitch when that ball does get trapped against the sideline, which will then cause Gusto to jump the route. And again, even the defenders are ready to make that jump out of the back line and press when necessary. And as you can see here, they manage to force a long ball, even when they do manage to play through and find a little bit of space slightly higher up in their own attack in their own half. So they're going for that long ball still. But as you can see, the players are ready to retreat. You've got two men on that far left side of Gusto, and I think it's Colwell, it would have been, following their men on that left-hand side. You've got the spare man tossing coming over. James is going to run the channel. And then you can have Lavia and Caicedo converging back towards the centre of the pitch. So even then, when they force it long, they're ready to collect themselves, get into the right positions to stop that ball. And I think what Chelsea did really well in this game, especially in the first half, was actually forcing Manchester City long and dealing with that long ball really well to then regain control and go again themselves, which allowed Chelsea to actually sustain quite a lot of possession in that first half and create chances which they weren't able to finish. Lavia was absolutely outstanding, and he really has played himself into that number 6 starting role for the start of the season, especially for that first game, as I say, against Manchester City. Got one assist with a lovely pass to Noni Madueke to set off that counter-attack. 67 touches, 88% passing accuracy, one key pass, 4 out of 7 long balls completed, 10 out of 13 ground duels completed, with 4 interceptions and 8 tackles, just showing that dynamism in the middle of the park for him to get around, win the ball back, and sort of just be that out-of-possession monster while still having the quality to play through Manchester City's press. Also wanted to mention Noni Madueke, who I thought was excellent when he came on. Of course, got a goal and an assist. He was mixing it up a little bit more when he was in those 1v1 isolations. He was still being direct, making things happen, but he was varying what he wanted to do with the ball. At one point, he went outside, stood up across. There was another few times where he went on the outside, but he drew one back across the box along the floor. Then, of course, when he cuts inside on his left foot, he had that goal where he cut inside on his left foot and scored. He also had another chance where he came inside, and he's just starting to sort of variate his moves. Even if they're not coming off, he's direct. He understands when to hold that whip to allow the number 8 to receive in that space that we were talking about earlier. The defensive work rate and responsibility that he's shown in that role as well, I just think it's been perfect from him. So I really wanted to give him that shout out that I think he deserves. So let me know in the comments down below what you made of that game, that 4-2 loss against Manchester City. There was many mistakes made with those 4 goals, but they were all mistakes that should be quickly rectified. Again, the playing condition apparently wasn't great, so that could have had an effect when playing out from the back with those mistakes, and I don't expect to see many of them going forwards, or at least to that degree. So that is a positive to take. When looking at the result, it shouldn't really reflect on the overall performance, which I actually think was very good. But let me know what you thought of the performance down below. Any questions you have, I'll try to get to them. And as I said always, please drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already.